Yes, it is.
Speed it up.
I'm always grateful for instant karma. That means I don't have to worry about it in the future. I always like it when it comes right back on me. I think, well, I know I deserve that, you know.
That's a good thought, what you're saying there.
Well, don't.
Makes you wonder, though, seeing them there.
What's that?
Don't do anything.
I know. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak.
They say, too, they drift in and out, and it gives them a chance
Yeah.
to learn more here, because when they go in a flash over there, and then they don't know it, it takes a lot longer to adjust.
That makes
harder,
sense.
where they say here, when they lay in a coma or whatever, and they flash back and forth, they're going to other worlds and coming back, and they're getting used to it, where it's better when they go over.
That's right.
It's really, I've read both sides, and in some of these books I've read, they say it's better here to do that than to go in a flash and be out there lost.
Yeah, they are
and you're caught
confused.
in between. They can't. Yeah, confused. That's the
Confusing. It's very confusing when a person first passes over. Like accident victims that go out just
like
like
my mother
that.
drifts. Some days she isn't here, another day she's right with me. Knows
Yeah.
my name, knows all about me, everything,
Yeah.
and I see it drifting to other.
Yeah,
or
she's in and
talking
out of
to my
body.
Dad, or she's back in her school days, or whatever you want to call it, or she's gone talking
Yeah.
about things we don't even understand.
Right, or maybe she
Somebody
talks
said,
to
"She's
spirits
talking Polish."
sometimes.
I said, she don't know how to talk Polish. So she's getting from somewhere else
Right.
language.
She's in contact with spirit.
So that's the way I
With
look
her-
at it.
with her
Drifting back and
relatives.
forth, and she's getting ready as she's more and more.
Do you notice that she doesn't eat as much? Before she goes, Shirley, I'll bet you,
She's pretty good yet, if I can get
Okay.
the food to her, but a lot of them there don't.
it's a natural thing for them to stop
think it's
eating
bananas.
because there is no
Oh,
physical
yeah.
nourishment in the spirit
But
world,
they
of
come
course.
back and eat one meal in order to get enough energy to go, usually before they pass. There's a good meal. Anybody been
Is that right?
sick or dead? That gives them enough energy to get over.
Well, that makes sense. I never noticed it when I
Watch
worked there,
it.
but
When they eat a big meal and looks good, turn to the good. I usually know.
watch out, huh? Yeah.
That's just my own experience
Yeah.
on it. But you're right. They do. Don't.
They taper off, they won't even eat, hardly, and that means that they're getting ready for the spirit world.
But they
Yeah,
get
something
the blessing
special.
To be able to get used to coming and going and drifting back and forth more than the shock of like a sudden, accident. You're not
Right.
ready. You don't know what to expect.
Right.
The people who do know that this exists out there shouldn't have to jump back and forth, but a lot of them did not, so it gives them time. To go
Yeah,
back.
that makes sense. That makes a
What
lot
I've
of
heard
sense.
tell and I've seen, but
Hmm.
and they do mellow. Some of these people that come in there that are real rough and real, they mellow. Their personality does in. Well, you've seen it if you've been in a convalescent.
Yeah, I have.
What? Go ahead, Laura.
No, one thing, when you die, whatever it is you think heaven is going to be,
That's what it's going to be.
that's what it's going to be
That's
for
right.
a while,
But
until they can lead you
Yeah.
through to what it really
you will have guidance. You will have your teachers and your spirit guides and your relatives there to help you to adjust. They're right there to meet you.
Getting goosebumps.
Another
They
thing
come
is,
out of a coma. They say they remember hearing everything.
I believe that.
And all that.
Oh, I
A lot of
believe that.
People I've been around
oh yeah,
knew somebody come to visit them or knew something happened.
Mhm.
Fire alarm went off or something like Laura said she didn't ask for that fire alarm. She knew wasn't right. But things like that has come through when people in comas. So they do know.
2
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning, and I'm with a broken leg, and I can't even wake up. I couldn't. And oh God, here I wonder how my leg's going to fit. I don't have to worry about that now. I'm going to burn to death. 2 o'clock in the morning. They had a and I mean, it was raining. Now you tell me they're going to wake up the patients 2 o'clock in the morning for an artificial fire trip?
yeah.
And anyway, I had terrific hearing. I was about from here to the other side of the furnace, away from the nurse's desk. It was in the hallway, but it was about 15, 20 feet. And I heard them talking, and then they finally said it was out. And this first time I ever asked, well, it was about 2 o'clock, about 3:30, I'm still awake. And I thought, man, I've got to go to sleep so I can wake up. So I asked the nurse, could I have a tranquilizer so I could go to sleep? She said, oh, are you nervous? I said, yeah, well, I was nervous about the fire. And her mouth just dropped. And she said, well, I'll go ask if you can have it. Oh, told her, how did she know there was a fire? Whispering out there, and I thought, but that was funny. I mean, I really gave myself, well, now I don't have to worry about my broken leg getting better.
See, you're trying to escape the prison of the physical body.
Come out, a fire alarm or things. That's what I'm trying to say. So they're not out entirely.
No.
Whatever you want to call it.
There's like different levels of consciousness that stay behind or something. And maybe they're not aware of everything because they're totally out
and
sometimes.
They'll talk about angels coming to them.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of things. People who passed. They were with so-and-so. That's what my mother
Oh,
said.
yes. Jim's mother will tell me that when we go up there. She'll be, yes.
The last,
So you finish what you're saying.
the
That's all.
last two programs on the Golden Girls, where one is Sophia died, went to their version of heaven, and what happened, then she came back because she was choking, and Blanche finished getting her, so she came back. And she started yelling, "You brought me back! I was happy up there. Why did you bring me back?" Now this is the normal program. And then the last program they had, it was another place where she went to heaven. And I said to Brian, I said, "This is really strange. 2 Saturdays in a row." And they're talking about him. And she said, "Well, she is 80 years old."
He's a realist.
But I mean, in a public program, and
Yeah.
It's really
about
coming
these
on.
things.
It's really coming a lot on
Yeah.
TV. In Korean soap opera, they're talking spiritualism. I think she told you that last week or 2 weeks ago. Santa Barbara. What were you going to say,
I just
Rosemary?
wanted to ask ask all of you. For about a year or more, maybe before my mother passed on, after she had that test for carotid arteries and something went wrong. We never did quite know what. But she was never in her right mind from then on. She was pretty much okay, except she knew all my brothers, but she didn't know who us girls were. But when I would go visit her, she would treat me like I was a nice lady. And in her apartment, and then later, after she was out at my sister's staying, she would say, "It's getting dark out now. Come and look. See all those people standing out." And I would ask her, I couldn't see them. And I would ask her if there was anyone there she recognized. If she knew any of them. I'd find different ways of saying it different times. And she never told me that there was anyone there she recognized. But I thought it was spirit gathering.
Sure it is.
Was it?
Sure.
Is that right?
Sure it was. I took care of, when people would be ready to pass at the nursing home, they would say, "Go get the weird one," and that was me. And
Go get the weird
that's what they would say. I was a general thing in the nursing home, "Go get the weird one, I'm going to die, and I know it." So I would go.
The patient.
The patients would say it. They would call the nurses, and the nurses would call me off my floor and bring me to whatever floor that the death was taking place on. And I helped so many people pass over. And the best thing to tell somebody is to follow the white light.
Go to the light.
That's what I always told them. And I've seen the actual essence of the soul, the green heart seeds and everything leave. They're green mist, leave the body and stuff working in it. I saw green. It was right out of the heart chakra. It was right out of the heart chakra. I suppose it depends on the individual and what's leaving at the time, but I did see a green mist above the chest, right above the heart, leave.
I think that's the last one.
It was. It was the last one. Okay. The Habakkuk commentary, which was recovered in fragmentary form among the Dead Sea Scrolls, is of Essenian origin. It refers to the teacher of righteousness, describing him as of the priesthood and the recipient of divine revelations. The teacher of righteousness seems to have been the example whom Jesus of Nazareth followed. The two are not to be confused. Apparently, the teacher of righteousness existed a century or so before the time of Jesus. However, he may have lived at a later time. And there are those who say of this teacher that he was one of the divine emissaries upon whom was placed the responsibility of instructing the young Nazarene. So in other words, Jesus lived with the Essenes and was instructed in mediumship by them.
Mary
Joseph and
and Joseph
Anna, yeah.
were of the Essene, and
Yes.
that was the mother and father of Mary.
Yes.
And they were brought here to prepare the way for Jesus, for when he came.
That's good. That's good to know because
What's that called? teacher, it was a Habitat, Hadoth, the Habitat. Is that what you're
Well,
talking about right now?
no, I'm talking
Teacher
about
ahead of the righteousness.
the teacher of righteousness. That was what they called him.
Oh,
And it was the Habakkuk
yeah, I got
commentary.
that. Okay, teacher righteousness.
Okay, did you get the part about the Habakkuk? Habakkuk?
Wait, try that one more
Try
time.
again.
Capital Habakkuk. Habakkuk.
Okay, that's all.
Commentary. In other words, it's from the Dead Sea Scrolls. In other words, the Essenes originated the Dead Sea Scrolls.
And also there were parts of the Bible that were in that, and I didn't send for it because it was $30 or $39. Reasons why you will never see the translation of the Dead Sea Scrolls, because they got Archaeology of the Bible, a magazine, and they put one or two people translating this since 1947.
Uh-huh.
I mean, these people are never going to get
No.
through translating it.
I think another reason is if the translations were made known, it would destroy organized religion.
But
And I think there's a lot of-
to destroy order.
Well, I know it's supposed to, and that's the idea. But I think that the hierarchy in the organized Orthodox
And money.
religions and money talks, and that is why they keep it secret, part of it. I believe that. Persons outside the order place considerably more confidence in prophecies made by the Essenes than those of other seers and prophets. So they were very accurate. They couldn't help but be accurate, as spiritual as they were. They would be right on the money. The Essenes lived that magnificently radiant type of life which inspired this confidence, as contrasted with the obvious shortcomings in the lives of others who claim to be prophetically inclined. Okay, right here in this church, I know from running the Psychic Saturdays and the Psychic Fair, there's a lot of people that come to me and want to read. They couldn't give a message if their life depended on it, and I won't let them read. But it's just the same thing. They are not true spiritualists. They don't follow it. They live like pigs. They do terrible things, and I know it, and I will not let them read in this church. And it's the same way with the Essenes. They were spiritual, and the other seers of that time were living a dirty life, a low life, and they were not as accurate. And that should teach you something about mediumship on the path. The Essenes, broadly speaking, were divided into two groups, the practici and the therapeutici. I'll spell them. Practici. Okay, and the other one is the therapeutici. That is THERAPEUTICI. The practici, or practitioners, were those who directed their attention toward the more mundane pursuits of life. They were the farmers and the pottery makers and the things that you had to have to exist in the physical world. The therapeutici, or therapeutici, consisted of those Essenes who engaged in the healing art. The Essenes, the word Essenes in the nearest Aramaic equivalent means healers. So again, we have another correlation to spiritualism, the healers. They believed in divinity of the plant kingdom as an antidote. They believed that every single illness had an antidote in the plant kingdom. That for every illness of man there existed a palliative in a root, leaf, or bark, or tree of a tree or a plant. Did you want to ask a question? Oh,
No,
okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm just listening.
So therefore, the Essenes were herbalists in the highest sense of the word. The second method of healing was to make use of healing stones. Now we do that too. Lodestones have magnetism. Crystals magnetize and exaggerate whatever quality. That's one thing. If anybody wears crystals, remember that they magnify the negative as well as the positive. If you are in a bad way, take it off. What happened, Laurel? This sounds like a good story.
No. When I went to you for the first reader Saturday, and then I just went over there and sat for a while. And my head, it was just going through. I didn't have a headache, but there was just so much activity inside my head. And then Shirley told me, you were sitting right up there by the crystals.
In the, the dream makers, think how potent they are, those dreams.
Yeah, but I didn't think that sitting in that room there was a bad place for me to be.
Mm-hmm.
Even in here where everybody's tuning in.
Yeah.
Feel it.
Or you might have been picking up on the way my head felt after doing all those readings.
Wow.
Yeah,
Because that's exactly how it
get
feels.
started, and you gotta stop right when you really get going with it.
You'll get over
and then
that.
Here I am, the next one, I think, oh my.
The more you do it, just go like that in between readings, and the more you do it,
Really hard, I just help.
that was your first one too. The more you do it, the more easily you'll be able to just click in and out. Yeah, comes easy after a while. The third method of healing, in which the Essenes were extremely well versed, drew upon the healing powers of the invisible worlds around them. In other words, spirit healing. And that's what we do here. Even in the course of this booklet, we have witnessed similarities between the teachings of Jesus and those of the Essenes. In one, the practice of angelology, the rite of baptism, methods of prayer, practice of presenting teachings with a double meaning, one for the masses and one for the initiates. In other words, say the same thing, but it means different things to different people according to their development. Blessing food, recognition of a higher kingdom, the practice of prophecy, and the practice of healing.
What was the first practice of healing and the practice of what else was it?
Prophecy.
Prophecy. I didn't know they did
What
that.
was just before prophecy?
Let's see.
Blessing of food. And then there was one.
Okay, recognition of a higher kingdom. It is significant that Jesus never mentioned the Essenes. At first, this seems to be an extremely odd circumstance. He spoke of the Sadducees and the Pharisees and criticized them for the manner in which they misinterpreted and mishandled spiritual truth, but he did not mention the Essenes. It requires no stretch of the imagination to conclude that the reason for this was that he himself was an Essene and merely keeping the vow of secrecy.
That's what I said.
We're almost done here. The Essenes deserted the Qumran Center, boy, that's a hard word for me to say, about the year 31 BC. No one knows where they went or why. In the year 6 AD, they returned just as suddenly and inexplicably and reconstructed their center, enlarged the ritual pools and increased their number, and built additional and larger assembly halls. It certainly seems more than coincidence that their return heightened activity coincided perfectly with the advent of the Christian era. Then a few short years later, they disappeared again, accomplishing the seemingly impossible feat of leaving no trace of their existence, or practically no trace of their existence. The end.
That's got a lot of information.
It's really, I skipped some of the stuff. It's really good.
This is all the angels and what you do, but that...
Yeah, that tells you the whole ball of wax right there.
What's the name of that one now?
This is The Essenes and Their Ancient Mysteries by Robert G. Chaney. You can get it at Chesterfield. Okay, now for dark session tonight, would you like to have just a regular circle, or would you like to do precipitation cards? Whatever you want.
Regular.